All right, what's going on, everybody? Here we are, Productive Conversations podcast. And it goes without saying that this is a very particular and special productive conversation. I have Ryan Page and Dolo Ren with me, and we are here to reflect and talk about what took place on July 13th, 2024. And I will read you exactly what happened here on the Wikipedia search. But on July 13th, 2024, former United States President Donald Trump, the Republican Party's presumptive nominee for the 2024 presidential election, was shot in the upper part of his right ear at a campaign rally near Butler, Pennsylvania. One member of the audience was killed and two others were critically injured. Trump was speaking to the audience when he was shot by 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Crooks fired 8 rounds from an AR-15 style rifle from the roof of a nearby building located outside the rally venue before being killed himself by a Secret Service counter-assault team sniper. After being shot, Trump ducked for cover and was surrounded by Secret Service personnel before being helped to his feet by Secret Service with blood visible on his right ear. Trump pumped his fist in the air while mouthing the word fight before being escorted to his motorcade and taken to a hospital. He was released a few hours later in stable condition. The shooting is being investigated as an attempted assassination. Experts consider the shooting a sign of political polarization in the United States, and political figures called for a decrease in tensions. The shooting evoked sympathy for Trump on social media. A number of public figures have called for an increase in security and the major candidates in the election. So it goes without saying, we saw an unfortunate event that took place this past weekend with the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And before anything is said, all three of us want to first send our condolences to those critically injured and those who unfortunately lost their life. The one person who unfortunately lost their life in Pennsylvania this weekend. We are most importantly happy to know, or relieved to know, that Donald Trump is safe and in stable condition. And today's show is not about bringing various opinions on what happened and what caused this, but a reflection on a very big historical event and seeing where this will lead into the future. So first things first, Ryan and Dolo, where were you when you found out about the incident?
I mean, I was out. I was with some friends of mine, so it was only on Twitter. I wasn't like watching the. I don't particularly usually watch those. But I saw it on social. You actually pointed me to social, and from there I saw it kind of grow from just a couple of sites or a couple of accounts to everyone. And yeah, so I was out. A lot of people were out. I just anecdotally, nobody was on their phone. It wasn't like there was all of a sudden a strange, which is weird because, I mean, obviously there's differences, but you talk to older generations about some similar stuff that has gone down in the past in this country, and the conversations like the world stood still, right? And that was not that was not the experience that I had. I felt like I almost knew a secret because people were just having a good time, laughing, listening to music, and all the while their pockets were probably buzzing with, you know, literally historic history being made in the moment and not necessarily for the better. So yeah, that's where I was.
Well, I mean, it's 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 ironic that Matt told you to check the socials because like I literally got off of work. I was in my room where I'm at right now, and I was in the middle of doing a clip, the one I was telling you about. And I was also in the process of turning on my PS5. I like to do that while I'm doing a clip, got the PS5 running in the back, ready to go. But, as I was about to do that, Matt calls me
Mhm.
and says, "Yo, Dolo, you're not going to believe this, but I promise you I'm telling you the truth." And I'm just like, okay, I mean, what would Matt tell me that I probably wouldn't believe anyway? You know what I mean? So he tells me what happens, and like now that I'm thinking of it, like I first thing I said to Matt was like, "Really?" I think I said something like that. And then, you know, we conversed about it a little more. It was sitting on my mind. My real first thought of it was, okay, well, like, what happened? What's going on? That's really what I wanted to know. You know, like, Matt was basically my radio. He was basically my radio. So, you know,
Matt won't admit this, but I 100% didn't believe him. I'll admit it. Matt called, said what happened. I said no. I was like, this is clearly not true.
AI.
Yeah, we talked for at least 4 minutes about whether or not it was an AI image. And then finally, I stopped
an
just
AI
talking.
image.
Yeah, finally just stopped talking, and I was like, let me just go online and like, or again, actually, I got off of Twitter and I started actually like looking it up, and then, you know, 1, then 2, then 3, and suddenly a lot of, you know, premier, if you want to use that term, I don't know that everybody does, news outlets started covering. I was like, oh wow, okay, so this is something, for sure. And so yeah, no, but I 100% Matt called, didn't believe him even for a second.
See, that's the thing. When I heard of it, like,
Which, I mean, because it's like, only for the reason that it's just a shocking thing to hear,
right,
Yeah.
right?
right,
Like,
yeah.
no one believes ever that. And I mean, I understand that this has happened before. I do understand that, and more than we care to admit. I mean, I lived in New Jersey for a long time. There were several very recent acts of political violence against electeds at local levels.
Wow.
Whole families were actually killed. So it's this happens, and so I mean, we see the posts consistently, I would say, today, of this doesn't happen here. And obviously that's a lie. It does happen here. It happened here on Saturday, and it's happened here in the past. And unfortunately, there's a non-zero chance that it'll happen here again. Perhaps sometimes in the nearer future. And I mean, I don't know. We'll probably talk about it at some point, but I obviously, whether or not it's happened here before, it's still a shock because it's not something that you often think about. We don't think about it here as something that would happen in our country. And some people maybe think about it more, but as a general rule, this is something that feels outside of comprehension
Yeah.
for Americans and all Americans. Not, you know, we're not covering, you know, the ins and outs of this, other than the facts that as we know them right now,
Right.
as we're still learning. I mean, we're learning a ton about the shooter and what the potential motives are. I mean, obviously the motives seem to be to, you know, shoot the former president and presumptive Republican nominee. I think it's really hard to come up with another action that this person was trying to take, but
Right.
there's not been a described motive. Based on the target, we can assume it was political in nature to some extent.
Mhm.
The bio of the shooter is crazy, and I'm not going to use their name. We said at the beginning, you can look up the shooter. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction on the off chance this was just a sick person looking to become infamous. But there's all sorts of conflicting ideas as to what might have been this person's background and what might have led to this action. So we still don't know anything really
Did you
about
guys see
why it
what
happened.
you guys saw what the Associated Press said? Well, they said a lot of things, but
Yeah.
like this morning when I was at the main desk where I work at, I was using a computer.
Mhm.
Apparently this guy was a Republican voter,
I mean,
but
that's what's being reported, and then there was
and then
some
he donated
folks,
like a $15 to a progressive movement. They
right?
didn't
But then
really
there
describe
was
it.
a message that was a different person with the same name. Then there's classmates who said
Yeah.
that the person wore camo. Like we're trying, and that's all this
It's a
is,
mess
truthfully,
right now.
right? And it's all it is because this is just such an unthinkable thing that we all saw
Yeah.
happen in real time,
Yeah.
that people are just trying to piece together something, anything to like look at and be like, all right, that's probably why, something that we could not have fathomed realistically. I mean, people talk about it. People, you know, we'll probably talk about people talking about it. People talk about this possibility, but even the folks who mention like this could happen are doing so in a theoretical sense, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah. We don't have all the facts, and like Ryan
right,
said
but
And trying
to
to
us
pick
private.
pieces and piece all this together
right.
and go, oh, well, you say your thing and I'll say what happened,
Yeah.
how I found out about all this. No, you say what you were about to say. If you had to.
Well, no, like Ryan said to us the night before, like this we'll never really know the full truth.
No,
The
I mean,
shooter's
God,
gone.
Yeah.
Shooter's gone. We could piece together and assume and make connections and try to tie knots here and there, but we'll never have the full 100% story with the shooter gone.
Yeah, right. So what happened with me? Um, not working. So it's Saturday night. I originally had plans to see some old friends from the gym, but they had to move it, so it was canceled. So I was like, okay, get a free Saturday night, not much going on. I actually was making myself a dinner. I was making macaroni and meatballs.
oh,
Oh,
Um,
you devil.
I was so I did my thing, my routine. Saturday gym, everything. I watched 2 episodes of that America's Sweetheart about the Dallas Cowboys. My plan was I was gonna start getting ready for football around this time of year, get ready for football. I was gonna watch the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, and I was gonna finish Netflix's Receiver series. That was my plan for Saturday night.
Mm.
I then watched my 2.5 episodes. Fascinating show, and I don't know if it's too late to talk about it later in the week, but I've
great show,
comments on that, right?
great show. We could talk about it.
So we'll save that for later this week, everybody. So I watched that. I'm getting ready. I'm making everything from scratch. I'm arguing in my sports group chat, which I do every day. And at 6:20, I had this guy put in. They were arguing about the stupid Mets, and this guy Brian has shooting happen at Trump rally. So I look at it, click, and I'm like, all right, nobody's stupid enough in front of thousands of people to start shots fired. And all I hear about how Secret Service always have everything unlocked, right? Right. Then I see another funny text. Somebody wrote, almost got ran over by the Argentina team bus. And this guy said it perfectly. I just sent a video of Trump being shot. And Ted responds by almost getting hit by a bus. And Wilbur talking about baseball.
Yeah,
So,
I've
so seeing
Talking
like,
about baseball.
just the casual nature of what life is for us young people, so susceptible to major world events. I'm watching a video. Okay, he's down. Probably you naturally, if you hear gunshots, you go down Secret Service, jump ready to take the bullet. Then you see the blood, and then you start piecing together. And then I just, for the next 3 hours, just calling people, seeing if they saw it, which I did. Called people, talking to my family, close friends, obviously you guys, and sorting this all out piece by piece, being insane, feeling insane how mixed the reaction is.
yeah, that's
And like throughout the rest today too, just still crazy to process about 28 hours 29 hours later what transpired, what is there to say, what is there to talk about, what is there to point out, and just caring first that he's safe, seeing all these close footage, the picture of the photographer getting the bullet
mhm.
milliseconds is one of the best photos I've ever seen, but so haunting. And if you guys ever been scrolling on TikTok or YouTube late at night and they have interesting photos, you probably will want to know about part 81. This is
Yeah,
at
this
one of
is
those,
there.
and they
This will
have
be
this
there.
narrator
Oh, I know
voice,
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
and they have this narrator voice explaining the photo. This is exactly what happens. And yeah, just hearing the mixed response from people listening, whether I agreed or disagreed, but the fact that it's mixed, aren't we happy that it looks like the if he just moved his head a certain way, we would have had a haunting image for the rest of our lives. A Zapruder
Oh
film.
yeah.
a different conversation for sure. And I was just gonna say, yeah, the not the point of this show, but something that needs to be addressed is this was an incredibly mixed reaction
Yeah.
from Twitter, and I usually say this as a bit of a negative, right? I usually say this in a derogatory sense that Twitter is not real life. It's almost tongue in cheek, given, of course, that the show that I co-host as co-host Ryan is the Tweet Cap. But tongue in cheek, I always say Twitter's not real life. But this weekend, I've had to basically console myself with the phrase Twitter is not real life. I have to assume that in real life, most people would find what happened to be terrifying. and they wouldn't be looking for justifications. They wouldn't be looking for whatabouts. They wouldn't be looking for all of these things that are currently floating around the internet. For folks who were going to do a certain thing in November, I don't know that this changes that. But for anybody, by the way, maybe for folks who are undecided, but we're really, again, not talking about that. So I'm not necessarily surprised that there are people who are still not fans of the former president. I mean, I would consider myself someone who's still not a fan of the former president, but the idea that anyone would be okay with this, and I know I said at the beginning that pretending that this doesn't happen here, this never happens here, and that's why it's bad, I think is wrong. But I mean, in our Constitution, which both the former president and the current president, both running for this election, have swore an oath to, we start off with this idea of a more perfect union. The country has never been perfect. The people in the country have never been perfect. Nobody talking to you right now is perfect.
Nobody.
But the point of the country, as I understand it, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I'd like to think I'm not. But the point of the country, as laid out in the beginning, very first part of the Constitution, is to form a more perfect union. So striving for more perfect has always been the point. There will always be pitfalls. There will always be failures. But the point of being American is to do better next time. And maybe that's not, maybe that's not enough for the people who get left behind the first time. I'm willing to hear that conversation. But if we can look at what happened today, or yesterday rather, and what may happen in the future, and frankly, just there's been a rise in this sort of political violence since 2014. The last 10 years has seen an increase. That's just a fact. It was lower, now it's higher. If we can look at all that, the last 10 years, and then, specifically yesterday, and think that we're striving for more perfect. If that's where your head's at, then I don't know what to say, because I don't know how we can think that this is more perfect, that this is what we meant by that as a country, and as Americans. And so there's a lot that has probably contributed to this. I don't know that we're going to talk about all of that today. People will talk about it.
It's
Some
so
of them
much to get into.
Right. It's people will talk about it, right, in good faith and in bad, right? We've seen it already. But I guess for me, the takeaway would be that more perfect concept. As a country, is this something that's making us more perfect for next time? And the only real answer that anyone can give, if they're being honest with themselves and they have any, ounce of empathy and humanity in them, is that no, acts like this, like what we saw on Saturday, and like what we've seen over the past 10 years of violence in the political sphere against politicians and against regular people, none of that is making our country more perfect for the next 10 years. And that means we're failing. As a nation, we're failing the very first line, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. We are not forming that union, whether we follow the Constitution's words, whether we follow our heroes, whatever, however we decide to do this. And that's what's been sticking with me all day as I see the mixed reaction is none of this, the bickering online, none of these hot takes for the sake of engagement are doing that. There's nothing more perfect about this that can come from this situation. And that's really, that's frustrating, I think. And I hope, again, that Twitter isn't real life and that regular people see that this is what this is, and that it's not helping us become more perfect. But I don't know. It gets hard when the loudest voices are the voices online. It gets hard to know what is or isn't real, and usually that can be ignored. But when it comes to something like this, with just how violent it is and how much more violent it could have been, it makes you worry that you're wrong and that Twitter is real life. And then where do we go from there?
Man. Yeah, well, before coming on here, I told you guys, like one of the big things for us being here, and one of my like big reasons to really want to stay up and be here to talk to you guys is to really, like, this is a moment in history. This really is a moment in history. And it was interesting what you said before, Ryan, how you were in real life and it didn't seem like everything stopped. That is very interesting. I was literally behind where I'm sitting right now doing nothing. About to start finishing my clip. But either way, it's and I had the idea of coming up here and saying something that, giving my thought and my opinion on what happened. And one day, if I have kids, if I have grandkids, I'm gonna be an uncle soon. So I'm gonna.
Congrats.
Thank you, bro.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. So I'm gonna have a niece that's, she's gonna wonder about this time. She's not even born yet, and this is gonna happen. She's about to be born soon. So there's a lot of things that, like, I guess my mind is changing as we all get older. That happens, I guess. And yeah, what Ryan said was amazing. Like, that's something for them to look back and to hear him say something like that, that's incredible. It says a lot, for him. It says a lot for, like, the goodness of what's in this country, what the real goodness in this country is. And me being Dolo Ren, the combat sports critiquer, and the guy to knock fighters down a few pegs. I really was just thinking, like, I had a lot of things to say logically, like, and yeah, I'm kind of noticing now that my mind frame was a little bit different while thinking about this. Even from the moment when Matt told me to check on socials, same as kind of did with you, Ryan. Like, the one thing that popped up in my head besides, like, what's happening, what's going on, like, obviously I did ask if he was okay, but to be honest with you, one of the first things I really thought was like, oh, like, I'm not that surprised. Like, yeah, this is, I didn't think I was gonna wake up and see this. Like, what was the last, like, attempt on, like, a president or former president, like Ronald Reagan, 1981, right?
Maybe
so.
like this, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
this, where that
where
actually
there
happened.
was where shots were fired with this. There's technically been assassination attempts documented from every single president, whether
Right.
they just failed, not even close, but this was the closest since.
I've even heard of, like, people trying to recreate 9/11, but those plans being thwarted by, like,
Yeah,
the feds, and I've heard of stories like that too. So yeah,
this is the most significant one since Reagan.
Since Reagan,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. And that's kind of where my head is at. Like I said, I didn't wake up thinking it was gonna happen, but
it's like a normal summer day.
It's still wild, but it's like, okay, I mean, yeah, that kind of made sense to me. And then the second thing my mind went to was, maybe this is just me as a video editor, as a producer, as someone that makes content myself.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I had, like, a visual reel of, like, oh wow, they're gonna use all this for a campaign.
Sure.
This is going on a campaign. I'm just picturing the music, like, even the edit cuts, like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm almost, like, kind of visualizing what they're gonna do with this, and yeah, that's honestly where my mind frame was. It's like, oh wow, not surprised. And now that I know that he's alive, they're gonna use this for a campaign, and this probably is gonna be good for him. It seemed like, I mean, this is so insane. Like, to think that people are thinking that this is a conspiracy. Like, there's a rapper named Plies. I don't know if you guys remember Plies.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Busted Baby,
Yeah,
Becky,
yeah, and I think I know the
originator.
I think I see the post as well that you're about to reference.
Yeah,
I think
originator of Becky. Somebody that does deserve some some respect in the hip hop world, to be honest.
Mhm.
But yeah, like Plies said it was fake. Plies like he assumed it was fake, and that's what he tweeted out. And then who else? Like it was some other people, like Kendrick
Yeah,
Perkins. Matt told me about that. I didn't get to see that myself, but yeah, like
That woman about saying it was fake. I'm from the Bronx, blah blah blah.
oh, I
yeah.
saw that too. I saw
The
that too. Yup.
the conspiracy. I mean, we've talked about conspiracies on this show. Um, Conspiracies crop up because I'm not an expert. This is just from reading, and so if I'm wrong, then let me know. But they crop up basically when there's a lack of a real explanation.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see people from all sides, on all sides of this, coming up with these conspiracies. Frankly, not every conspiracy is on one group or another. I've seen conspiracy theories out of both groups.
They're all
That's just
different. Yeah, there's
they're
a
all
bunch of
different,
different ones.
and it's because no one knows
Yeah,
how this could have happened or why this is happening. Nobody, nobody on either side, and it's becoming this point of basically irritation. I think for everybody that there's nothing clean about
yeah,
this.
and like, what am I?
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say they're doing 24 hours to figure out exactly what the fuck happened.
Right?
There
Yeah.
is questions like, when I get older and realizing how important the term silence is golden,
Mm.
it seems people are so uncomfortable being silenced and letting this all correctly get figured out. That's where your conspiracies come in. I can't say nothing. I'm just gonna say this, and it's just, I'm just as somebody who enjoys a good conspiracy and speak on it, with like silly ones like
Sure.
McDonald conspiracies or the
Yeah.
moon landing
Right.
or that. But the idea of truly any conspiracy involved with legitimate people dying, and we saw one person lose their life forever from this, and two critically injured, is insensitive,
Hmm.
fucked up, and selfish. It's so
Matt,
easy for you to go on a computer or Twitter to make shit up
Just yeah.
when somebody is all you are traumatized for life. You have to use your head. You're a better person than that. Who's ever coming up with this stuff? Yes, Dolo?
I wanted to interject. You're 100% right about that. And to be clear, I honestly didn't know about the people that got injured and the person that got killed. So like
Yeah.
as we were speaking,
Hmm.
so like yeah, that's something I didn't say at first. I wasn't too aware on that.
You could,
As we all weren't,
and especially with the nine, like any conspiracy. And I have a personal one with with, with a 9/11 survivor, my dad, and hearing 9/11 conspiracies like that, and everyone there. I have to close my eyes. You can't make these jokes with this, with the 3,000 people dead and other people traumatized for life and other people who will still have lingering diseases from being there that day. As an example of why you can't joke with conspiracies involving people's death and health involved. It's so easy for somebody on a computer to say that, but when you're literally living amongst that, the truth, it's insensitive, and you need to reconsider yourself as a human being. So I'll leave it at that with that stuff on the Trump conspiracy stuff, with the Trump assassination attempt conspiracy. We just have to go over the facts. And there's definitely plenty of times where it's hard to trust the government. But on something like this, where they're all trying to make sense of what happened and not letting things escalate into disaster, like we've
Right.
seen recently, you gotta just let that shit go sometimes. When Jay Williams said, "You gotta let that shit go," after Kobe died, having the same animosity and pushed, it makes sense. It makes sense in situations like this, where why are we trying to profit and make jokes off this type of stuff? And I'm not gonna lie and say I don't see them. I'm on the app every damn second,
I know.
most of my free time, to make this show, to get content from the show. And some people are funny with it. I can't deny it. funny's funny, but at the same time, you got to be sensitive and aware of how genuinely traumatic this was.
Remember
And
when people would say too soon, bro? Too soon. It's too
yeah,
soon right now. A little too
too
soon.
soon right now. I think that's a
And
good way to
it's
put it.
too soon mixed with, I mean, you said something I think that's interesting with like, obviously no one really knows what's happening. And there's, we have an aversion now, and I don't know that we always had it. And it might be social media's fault, might not be, might just be people, right? We have an aversion to being quiet. We must always, and I get it, we create content. So I'm not gonna, this is not a holier than thou bit. This is just a fact. We have an aversion to being quiet. And that has manifested itself in such a way that in moments of uncertainty, we replace knowledge with noise. We don't wait to know what's happening. We can't wait. We hate quiet. So since we don't know anything, we just make as much noise as possible and go from there. And the problem with that is there's a lot of people who are not just trying to hear themselves talk all the goddamn time, and they're actually trying to figure out what is going on. And when they get online and they just see noise, lots and lots of noise saying opposite things, someone saying this, someone saying that, just noise of all kinds. We hear that this is what happened. No, this is what happened. It's, you just throw your hands up and then you turn off. You say, I guess we'll never know. And it becomes, we just keep making ourselves less and less informed because we keep hiding information underneath a mountain of noise that nobody needs to be making. And so obviously some of this is me disagreeing with the noise. I won't pretend that I'm just mad that people are posting. I posted. We're about to post this video. So obviously I'm not just mad at people posting. There's clearly a bias on my part about the type of things we're posting. But at the same time, I think we've done on this show a fairly good job of admitting what we don't know, not claiming things as being true without any sort of information, and frankly, even things we know to be true, we've cited. We've looked at AP, we've looked at Wikipedia, CNN, New York Post. These are the people that we read, as well as, of course, consuming all of these other comments that we're talking about right now. And if you're not willing or able to do that, that's fine. Then you just put out, wow, I can't believe this happened. This is crazy. Like, and then be done with it. Like, you don't need to fill the noise or don't need to fill the space with noise. We need to know why this is happening so we can avoid it happening again. And right now,
Yeah.
nobody online, minus very few people, are doing that. Everyone is basically pushing us in the direction of having this happen again. It may not happen to the same people at the same time or in the exact same way. So I understand if that makes me hyperbolic, then so be it. But nobody is doing anything right now to prevent something like this from happening again. And that's frankly the worst part about all of this. That's the worst feeling I have out of all of this right now is that we've learned absolutely nothing. And we know I talked about it was a super normal day given what had just happened when I found out the news. Today has been an even more normal day. I'd been driving all day. We stopped at multiple gas stations, some of them in the state of Pennsylvania. Obviously, we weren't close to Pittsburgh, but still. And people just going about their day. Like people are grabbing gas, grabbing, food, talking to their loved ones on the phone, hearing conversations about plans for next weekend. Like these are the things that I've seen. Like today was a normal freaking day to a lot of people. It's just a normal day.
Yeah.
And online, people are going about today like it was a normal freaking day. And it means we're not learning a lick of anything. We've learned nothing. We've gained nothing from this. It's what I was talking about. We're not making the next 10 years better based on the last 10 years because we've learned
No,
nothing. We're
you're
pushing
right.
ourselves further into this sort of conflict and this sort of tragedy. And if you're a keyboard warrior, then this of course means nothing to you, but nothing we say will do that. But there's people who have lost loved ones, who had to watch loved ones get hurt. I mean, just for a second, imagine you're a family member of one of the Secret Service who is there. I think we can all agree that Secret Service has a pretty hard job. Um, and now you see guns are going off, and your daughter is rushing to try and shield the president, former president, someone you may or may not even like, by the way. Um, someone she may or may not even like, by the way. It's just her job is to do this. It's not your job to like these people. It's your job is to protect them. Like, this is a scary thing to in real time watch someone you love possibly go away forever. And then obviously for some people that happened. Like for some families, that's what's happened. But for everyone there, that was very much on the table, including, of course, the president's family. And so, like, this is not fake. And so the fact that this is leading to nothing, no change in rhetoric, no change in empathy, no change. And this is for both groups of people. So everyone can read this how they want to read it to feel special inside. It's the fact that there's no change at all is probably the biggest, most concerning thing that I've seen this weekend. Even perhaps more so, probably not more so, but almost in line with the actual act of violence is the fact that no one has batted an eye and is trying to make things better. And that's not good.
No, I feel
That's
you
not
on
good.
that. It seems like people kind of are taking this as like one whether it's Republican or Democrat, it's like, oh, someone's taking this as ammo, and then someone else is like trying to spin this and oh, you see how violent they are. It's just it's never gonna end. It's never gonna end. And it's one of the reasons I really don't like talking about politics. And I don't really see this as talking about politics. We're talking about a moment in history
Yep.
that like we were alive for and we got to see at least on our phone screens. And we're lucky that we're in an era in a time of the world that we can do that. We can look at our phone. And yes, there's a lot of evil that comes with the smartphone. But you know, it makes us aware of certain things that we wouldn't be aware of in
Yeah,
any other
no,
case. And
it's the tool like anything else. There's nothing evil or good about anything. It's a
yeah.
tool that people use how they use. But yes, as a yeah, I don't know, as a function of history, like you said, what's shocking to me is that this has not changed anything at this point. And that to me is what that's my frankly the biggest takeaway of this moment in history is that when confronted with such a violent act as a nation, we did nothing. We shrugged. And I know we've done it before. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I thought maybe this wouldn't be that way. Because of who it was and the profile and all that. And again, the first time since the 80s that something like this has happened. And so maybe that was my fault. It was naivete on my part. But that this was met with a shrug at best is to me a very, very bad sign about who we are at the moment. And obviously people change. I have to believe that people change. And I hopefully that includes the American people. And maybe once all of this election stuff has gone past, however it ends, we can start to see some change. I'm not optimistic about that given the players involved, which we'll talk about another time. But maybe that will be the case. We just need to get through this time period and we can start to see a change. But that people are not talking differently at all is so disappointing.
And yeah, just seeing how easily, like I said, just to be blunt and frank, some people wish it was the opposite. It's just sad you feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or wish. I mean, there's people wishing
Yeah.
all sorts of different outcomes between the target and the end result, and there's no way to be, in my opinion, a healthy, well-adjusted person and have those thoughts. I'm sorry if you're one of those people listening, and you can let us know why we're wrong, I suppose, but we're not gonna listen because it's just not normal. It's not normal. That there's so many people who are like this. It's not normal, and if it is normal, if I'm wrong, then I'll go out on a limb here and say it shouldn't be normal. And that was the whole point of that more perfect thing I said. Like, if we're really not there, if this is where we really are as people, all people in the United States, that's bad. Even if it's average, even if it's normal, that's bad. We shouldn't be there. And so that'll bum me out too. I'm sure the
And
comments
then
will bum me
for
out too
those,
on
if
that.
you're gonna also respond with all these, well, this happened, this, why not this, that, and this, and I get it. This life sucks. Doesn't mean you can let it absorb you and turn yourself into a villain. That
Right.
doesn't
You
solve
can't.
anything either. And
We're too quick to be violent with one another. We're just too quick, too casual with people to like
this
at this
shit's
point.
permanent. I wish people
Right.
were doing that.
I mean, especially this, but even just all violence. Violence is permanent.
Facts. You can't just
Violence leaves
respawn like in a
scars.
video game.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
can't respawn, man. It's one and done. And like, if there's anything to get out of this, like, if Donald Trump or anybody gets you so riled up to create violence, you gotta be honest, man. I say this in the most respectful way. Like, who cares? Like, Trump doesn't know who the hell you are. He
Right.
doesn't care who you are. So why should you go and turn into this person and make sure you know who he is in the worst possible way possible? And I get it. The guy ain't perfect. Nobody is. And like at the same time, like there's so much beautiful things in life to care about instead of Trump and Biden and Kamala and whoever Trump is going to pick as his running mate and Lincoln and Washington and all this.
And I'll say this
This,
though.
I just want to say, like,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
care about what's beautiful in this life, the sky, the fact you get to breathe, hope core, something inspiring you, giving you passion. And I don't doubt though that this world is so dark sometimes that you really don't think you're worthy of that, or there is no hope to show the things to actually enjoy with this life. But there is. I'll be your friend. I'll talk to you every day, and I'm serious. I'll be your friend. We can meet up, text,
Come on the
whatever.
show.
This life is, there's so much more than trying to end a guy's life. That even though I don't agree with a lot of what he said, he's just some dude with power. That he
Right.
will be remembered. He's just some dude. Strip it down. He's just some dude who
Yeah.
eats, pisses, shits, watches TV, and everything. It's not worth trying to kill the guy over. It's
Right.
not.
And my thing is, we're hearing a lot, and I wasn't going to do this, but I do think it's important slightly. We're hearing a lot now that you can't dislike the guy because they shot at him. That's obviously not true. We don't all have to now vote for this man because someone shot at him. We don't all have to like him now, even if we disagree with him or think that the things he says are just as dangerous as, what anybody else says. You can believe that. You can really do. You really can believe that. But I mean, there's do you want to be the villain, like Matt said? No. Being the villain, just because you believe there's another villain, doesn't absolve you. Even if you believe, again, that this person is villainous. And honestly, people make a compelling case sometimes, I suppose. But even if you believe that, or the other side, to be honest, to be fair, if you believe either of them are villainous, you shouldn't become this, you know what I mean? Like that, you shouldn't become this. You shouldn't do this. Even if you believe that the person that you're looking at is acting in bad faith or is trying to hurt people. This is not how things need to be done. You're no better the moment you do this or advocate this or support this violence that just destroys people's lives in the country writ large. You're no better then. You're just as bad. And I don't care if I agree with you. I can agree with everything you've ever said. If this is where you land, you're the villain too. Period. And so there's no justification. The minute you cross the Rubicon here, you're a problem. You're problematic. Like Matt was saying, like, yes, people do get very excitable about this. And some of it, I think Matt is right. Just take it easy. Some of it is truly fear for the future of the country. And I understand that. And we can go a long time on this, so we're not going to. So instead, I'll say, I get it. Matt gets it. Dolo gets it. We all get it. We all get being nervous or scared or frustrated. Like, those are normal emotions. But you becoming a villain does nothing to help that. It just creates more villains. And we don't need more villains. We have enough. That's why everyone is freaking out. That's why everyone is sad. That's why everyone is frustrated. That's why all of these emotions we just talked about are happening, because there's plenty of villains in the world. You could look anywhere and find a villain. We just need people, good people, normal, good people. And that's what we can all be. That's the only thing we can all be to actually help. And so that's my thing is, I'm not saying you have to like this person or vote for this person. And anyone who is saying that, in my opinion, is probably acting in bad faith. But you do have to understand that condoning this, supporting this, or God forbid, acting upon this is making you the villain. It just is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
That's right.
Like, what's scary, I mean, there's a few things, there's a lot of things scary about it, but it really is scary that, like, the Secret Service, like, just the fact that those shots were able to go off, and
well, yeah, that
that's a scary
need to be
thing
discussed.
to think about.
Yeah,
I heard
to shift back into a less philosophical space. We got to figure out how this person got there without anyone seeing. They had that counter sniper in position. How did they not notice the dude on the roof? Were they expecting to see one of theirs on the roof and they thought it was their side? I don't know. But that's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things. It's like, what I wanted to say, part of what I wanted to say was, and you guys have been doing great with this. And like, I wanted to say, like, what's kind of already been iterated, like, you're don't be the scumbag that makes this into some wild conspiracy. You really don't want to go in that direction. But it's almost like it's hard. It sucks to say. Kind of how I feel is like, it is fair game. Like, it almost is fair game when you don't know anything, and when you see that the Secret Service didn't do their job. I get it. I'm not. It's you shouldn't be out here making just random assumptions and whatever. But it is fair game. It is fair game when we don't understand. It's gonna happen at least, or you could at least say that, and and whatever the case is, it's a nasty thing. But yeah, there's a lot of things. It's a lot of things about this, and to be honest, I feel like you guys are pretty open with how you feel politically, and to be honest, I don't hate the guy. I kind of like Trump, but I'm not with all these conspiracies like, oh, that was Antifa, that was, it's just like, cut it out. Like, just, it's way too early for it. But and watch what you say now. But another thing I wanted to mention as well is, like, you definitely got to watch what you say now. But is it possible maybe that, some people kind of already kind of talk themselves into a hole that they can't get out of?
Yeah.
I feel like, I feel like there's a lot of people, obviously the better part of our society feels sympathy towards anyone that, gets an attempt like that on their life, but there's a few people, that I had to look back at, and there are some people that were, prominent voices that did, like, that at the very least were okay with Trump being killed one day or dying off one day. I'm not gonna go down like a whole. I do have a lot of names. I'm not gonna lie, but like, there's a lot of people, like, obviously the Kathy Griffin thing with the head on the cover.
Yeah, there's been a history. Well,
yeah,
like I said, the last
Rick
10 years.
Ross, like, Rick Ross has a song with John Legend called "Free Enterprise," And the song, he says something like "assassinate Trump," like Zimmerman, like literally says assassinate. I probably shouldn't even be saying that. Let me watch what I say. Big Sean in a freestyle said something similar to that. Johnny Depp, literally says something like that. Charlie Sheen, Madonna, the director for Avengers. Like I really don't want to go down this whole list because it's really not the point. But these are things that things could come back and bite you, bro. Like obviously it's good. If we can all have a change in our mentalities and soften up as time goes and realize where we were wrong. That's part of being a man to me, is just being a good person, really. Is being able to change and realizing where you went wrong. And I think this is a lesson in that too. A lot of these people, if they're saying, like, if someone like Snoop Dogg, where he had a music video where he fake shot Trump, in his music video, like if they come out and say, oh, certain people come out and say, we shouldn't condone this violence, this is wrong. It's like, I mean, well, back in 2018, you weren't saying that. It's
Right.
like you got to watch what you say now and for the future. You got
It's
to be
about turning
conscious of
down.
those
It's
things.
turning down the hate. And people are calling for that. It's not working, but that's what it is. It's turning down the rhetoric around
Yeah,
this, and that rhetoric, by the way, doesn't need to include softening your opinions on the man. It just needs to include, or it needs to include specifically the idea that, regardless of your opinions on the man, it is not American to take vigilante justice
right.
or whatever,
Yeah,
like
soften your
whatever the yeah.
attitude towards like
Yes.
being like a vigilante. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, there's so many things to talk about with this. I think we'll just wrap it up with this tonight because a lot of great things have been said. But stay safe out there, people. Clearly, life can change in a minute. Just tell people you appreciate them and let them know. Because anything can change literally in a snap. Glad Trump's okay. We're so sorry that let me get his name. Just one
Oh, you
moment.
have the names of
Mm-hmm.
wow.
So just um for all the victims, including Corey, Competatori, or we'll go Corey C. I'm so sorry what happened. I hope you're at peace. I hope your family finds solace and peace amongst this. And we'll never forget him or everyone involved. And I hope after this show, I hope for the rest of your life, somebody's going to be learning a lesson no matter what side you're on. And with that, that's Dolo, Ryan. Great job as always. And my name is Matt Brown. We're back to our regular productive conversations starting tomorrow. And again, let's try to learn something from what just took place this weekend and appreciate this life you live. All right.